Good day everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we will discuss some NEET MCQs from the chapter Evolution. So without wasting any more time, let us start. The first question is asking what is necessary for evolution of life, and as you can see in the screen, the four options given are option A is CH4, option B is NH3, option C is H2O and option D is O2. Now we can omit out the first two options very easily because it's clear that H2 and among H2 and O2 there might be one option correct which is necessary for evolution because CH4 and NH3 were the atmospheric conditions of primitive earth. And now what will be the option from this two? Now in case of O2, I'll recall, we should recall about the anaerobic organisms also. Now these are the organisms that can survive without oxygen also. So our answer should be H2O, that is option C. Also, I would like to mention one point regarding this question, that is all primitive organisms were formed in aquatic environment. You may recall this from the NCERT, that is like when water formed all due to rain, almost all or the entire parts of the earth were covered with water, and most of the organisms that formed, that is a primitive, that were underwater. And you can also recall this from the plant kingdom and animal kingdom chapters that you read in class 11. All the initial organisms, they were all aquatic. In animal you recall porifera, then nidaria, then ctenophores, they were all underwater. And in plants you remember algae, they were at different strata like the chlorophyceae, phaeophyceae, rhodophyceae. So I hope this question is clear to you. The answer is H2O. Now let us come to second question. The second question is assertion reasoning based question, which is a very important type of question because NTA has been giving this type of questions consistently in all these years if you look through the PYQs. Okay, so assertion is saying Louis Pasteur showed that in flask open to air, new living organisms appeared in the heat-killed yeast culture. This statement is absolutely correct. You may refer to my last lecture video on part 1 of evolution where I talked about the swan neck flask experiment, and I mentioned there that when the flask is exposed to air, that is the swan neck is broken, the flask upon being exposed to air, new organisms were there, and if it was only there was no exposure to air, it was all kind of covered, then in the heat killed yeast culture there was no formation of new organism. So our assertion is correct, and the reason is saying life arises from pre-existing life. This statement is also absolutely correct, and it's also explaining the assertion. So our option would be option A. Both A and R are correct, and R is the correct explanation of A. Now I'll tell you something. In this kind of question, NTA does one very tricky thing, that is they shuffle the options. Suppose in this question it is the general way only where both A and R are correct, R is the correct explanation of A, it's in option 1 only, and you can see this is a basic format, but in exam you may find this option as option D also. So be very careful while marking. Your answer or logic may be correct, but in case you mark the wrong option, things get quite troublesome. So please keep this in mind when you are in exam. Okay, now let's come to question number 3. Again, this is a very important type of question, statement based questions, and these questions typically test your knowledge. It may seem easy, but I know it requires conceptual depth. So, but there is no need to worry. We will all do this together. Okay, statement 1 is Oparin and Halton proposed that formation of life was preceded by chemical evolution. This is absolutely correct. what statement 2 is saying, operand observed formation of amino acid. Now this statement is wrong. Why? I'll tell you, because I'm marking the question. You may recall that chemical evolution was proposed by Operin and Haldane. This was proposal or providing a theory, but the practical demonstration, or let me say experiment, was conducted by Urey and Miller. You must know this. In this experiment only amino acid formation was observed. Amino acid formation observed. Right. But what is this statement saying? They are saying that Operin observed formation of amino acids, which is not true. If it would have been that Urey or Miller, then the statement would have been correct. But since they have told Operin, so this statement is wrong. So our option will be option B, that is statement 1 is correct but statement 2 is incorrect. Now let us see the mismatch pair. Alfred Wallace Malay Archipelago, this is true. Charles Darwin HMS Beagle, this is also true. HMS Beagle is basically the ship in which Charles Darwin explored or conducted his observations and experiments. Operin and Haldane chemical evolution, this is also correct. Louis Pasteur and spores, this is mismatched. Why? Because spores was panspermia theory, and this was some Greek thinkers. But Louis Pasteur gave the theory of biogenesis. So on the basis of that, our option C is only contradicting. Okay, the first life originated in water, as we saw in the first question only. Which of the following is formed in S. Miller's classic experiment? This is also an easy question, and it's amino acids, if you recall the chapter. Now, origin of life as a result of chemical evolution was properly explained by. Okay, among all the options given are Fox, Watson, Mendel, Crick, Haeckel, Operin. We see only Operin matches here. So it will be option D, 2 only. Now, let us see question 8. Question 8 states, select the correct statement regarding theory of special creation. In case, since it looks a bit hazy, I am writing at the side. It will be special. Now you remember regarding special creation, you must know, or if you find any kind of problem, you can refer to my evolution part 1 lecture. I'll share the link in description. Okay, the options are, all living organisms that we see today were created as such, and this statement is indeed mentioned under theory of special creation. So this statement is correct. This statement is correct. So I'm using a green marker. The diversity was always the same since creation and will be the same in future also. This is also correct. The earth is about 4,000 years old. This is also correct. So it's quite obvious that our answer is all of this. Now, question 9. Earliest hot atmosphere of earth contained. Let's see what are the given options. Molecules of hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, atoms of hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen. Oxygen was not there. Option C, atoms of hydrogen, sulfur and carbon. And option D, molecules of hydrogen, methane and ammonia. So by obvious facts, we know option D is correct. Choose the incorrect statement regarding Big Bang theory. the gases condensed under gravitation and form the galaxies of the present day universe. This is correct. In the solar system of the Milky Way, Earth was supposed to have been formed about 4.5 billion years back. This is also correct. Option C is stating water vapor, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and ammonia released from molten mass covered the surface of Earth. First of all, this statement itself is quite ambiguous, like oxygen, and secondly, this statement is not related to Big Bang theory. That's why this will be our answer. Question 11 is stating finding of Miller experiment on origin of life has provided evidence for. Okay, so you know what Urey Miller experiment is. It's related to theory of chemical evolution. So 11 is option B. Question 12 is one of the possible early source of energy was or where? CO2, chlorophyll, green plants, UV rays and lightning. Okay, 12D. You must remember about the when you are studying about the chemical evolution, it has been mentioned that in the primitive earth, beside the conditions like water vapor, methane, ammonia, it was also said that lightning and UV rays, they were the sources of energy. Like UV rays broke up water into hydrogen and oxygen, and lightning provided energy there. You must remember this, like electrodes were used to create a replica. So our option is D. In question 13, in the following table certain events and of nature and its approximate time is given. Find the correct match. Okay, let us see this. Formation of Earth 4.5 billion years ago. This is true. Appearance of life on Earth 4 billion years ago. This is also correct. Now, let us read option C. Option C is saying first non-cellular forms of life, it is about 6 billion years ago. This is not correct. It would have been correct if the answer was 3 billion years ago. And the universe is about 20 billion years ago. It is mentioned in NCERT again, and there is another data like in new NCERT some revised data is there. So option A and B are correct. I am writing this at the back. This is question number, let me see once, this is question number 13. Question number 13, first non-cellular life, it came about 3 billion years ago, and origin of universe, you remember, it's 20 billion years ago. So our question option 13 is A. Okay, now let's move to question number 14. Another assertion reasoning question. Assertion states Miller observed formation of some amino acids in his apparatus. This is absolutely correct. Once again, I would repeat that this statement is taken from the portion of evidences for chemical evolution, that is the experiment, and yes, indeed amino acids were formed. Miller used 4 gases, methane, oxygen, hydrogen and water vapor, for formation of simple organic compounds. This statement is incorrect. Why? Because you can see here oxygen is mentioned. In primitive earth there was no oxygen in atmosphere, and if you ask me, it would have been correct if instead of oxygen ammonia was mentioned. Okay, so methane, because of oxygen, this term, it is becoming wrong. And I've also mentioned in bracket, remember what I'm mentioning in the bracket is what would have made the answer or the statement correct. So our option is C. A is correct but R is incorrect. Okay, which of the following statement is correct? Life appeared about 500 million years after the formation of Earth. This is correct. Louis Pasteur believed that life comes only from pre-existence. This is correct. That is theory of biogenesis. Oparin advocated that life came from pre-existing non-living organic molecules. This is also correct. This is basically what chemical evolution is trying to convey. So our option is D, all of this. Now, question 16. Which of the following pair of term is not related? Evolution is natural selection. It's correct. It was given by Charles Darwin. Homologous organs, thorns of bougainvillea and tendrils of cucurbita. This is also correct. Analogous organs, wings of butterfly and birds. This is also correct. Basically, wings of butterfly and birds, they perform the same function, but structurally they are different. And in case of homologous, they are structurally same. That basic core structure is same, but the function is different. Because of function, the superficial pattern is different. And option D is adaptive radiation hardened brain of vertebrates. This is not correct. You must recall that adaptive radiation is when you start about Darwin finches. That is adaptive radiation. Okay, now question 17 is select the correct statement. Embryos of all vertebrates develop a row of vestigial gill slits just behind the tail. No, it is in the pharyngeal gill slits, and gill slit homology indicates common ancestry. This is correct. Eyes of octopus and mammals represent analogous organs. This is also correct. So our option is D. 18. Which of the following are not the... Okay, like I'm just removing this since it may create confusion. Like I'm saying, I'm marking this with green to indicate that both B and C are correct. Okay. Now question 18. Question 18. Okay, so which of the following are not the examples of adaptive radiation? Wombat, marsupial rat, kangaroo. These are examples. Darwin finches are also. Different placental mammals in Australia. These are also. Placental wolf and Dryopithecus. This isn't the example of adaptive radiation. These are two from different topics. Placental wolf is what you study under that placental versus marsupial organisms, and Dryopithecus is basically which you study under, like when you're studying human ancestry, it's basically an ancestor of the present day chimpanzees and gorillas. So this were not quite related or examples of adaptive radiation. Okay, question 19 is most of the fossils are found in which type of rock? Remember this to be sedimentary rock, because you know that when sedimentation occurs, like the remaining dead bodies of the organisms get crushed, pressed, and the fossils are found there. Wings of birds and forelimbs of horses are its homologous organs. It's a very much famous example. Question 22 is... sorry, question 21. That was question 20, I think. Yes, sorry, it was question 20. Question 21. Another assertion reasoning question. Analogy indicates common ancestry. No. Rather, okay, so you know that homology indicates common ancestry and not analogy. Rather, analogy is not quite helpful in understanding. It's quite contradictory, rather, because two different organisms are showing same behavior where structurally they're very much different. Okay, analogy is based on convergent evolution. No, this is correct. So our option will be D. A is not correct, R is correct. Question 22. Which of the following statement is not true? Homologous structures are a result of divergent evolution. This is correct. Sweet potato and potato is an example of analogy. This is also correct. Like we are calling them the same names, but you know that one of them is underground stem and the other is underground root. An analogy indicates common function. This is also correct. Common function it has state. Okay, remember this. Common function is under analogy, not common structure. And flippers of penguins and dolphins are a pair of homologous organs. No, you must remember that these are analogous. Okay, now question 23. How many of the following show convergent evolution? Eye of an octopus and mammal, they show convergent. Thorns of bougainvillea and tendril of cucurbita. Please give me a moment. Yes, okay. Yes, this is correct. Sorry. Analogous. Okay. Here, 23. This is correct. This show convergent. Thorns of bougainvillea and tendril of cucurbita. This is not, cause this is homologous. Vertebrate hearts, these are not convergent, these are homologous. Wings of butterfly and bird. And the vertebrate brains, again not, they're homologous. Or I don't yes, they are homologous only, like basic code structure is same. And if you're talking about wings of butterfly and birds, they are convergent. So our option is C, A and D. Okay, tendrils of bougainvillea and cucurbita represent analogy. Wrong. Tendrils of bougainvillea and cucurbita not anatomically similar structure, though they perform similar functions. Again, wrong. Both of the statements are wrong. Tendrils of bougainvillea and cucurbita, they represent homology. They're anatomically similar and they perform different functions. So both the statements are completely opposite of the true statement. So both 1 and 2 are incorrect. Now, next question 25. What is the true conclusion about the following figures? Okay, this is wing of bat and this is of butterfly. So they're analogous. Bougainvillea thorn and cucurbita tendril show evolutionary divergence, which is basically homologous or homology. Okay, so our video ends here for this till this much. I hope you understood all the concepts that have been explained here. Please do make sure to like, share and subscribe, and please do engage with me via comments if you have any kind of doubts or suggestions regarding what type of videos you want, or if you want to post any kind of doubt like questions you're stuck at or concepts. Please feel free to mention at comments, and I'll wish you all the best for your NEET examination. You have got time. Take a deep breath. It's all okay. Everything will go good. Keep practicing. And I'll share the link of my previous lecture regarding evolution in the description box. Thank you.